After showing you the past of every single Simpsons character, I thought it was only right we now zoom forward into the 31st century to do the exact same with Futurama. So let's go from A to Z, literally starting with Amy all the way to Zoidberg. Amy Wong. Born in 2979, Amy Wong grew up in a life of luxury with her parents on their bungalow ranch, which encompassed Mars's entire Western Hemisphere. At a first glance, she might seem like your classic spoiled rich kid, but she's repeatedly shown that there's far more beneath the surface. This is perhaps because her childhood was marred with cruelty specifically from her father and his constant jokes about her weight.
I'm just gonna stay in my room.
Stay in room? You so fat, you're gonna stay all around room.
You see, Leo always wanted a son, and so Amy tried really hard to share his interests, even becoming a mini golf champion. But sadly, Leo and mother Inez mainly saw Amy as a future housewife who would provide them with many grandchildren.
I already have a boyfriend. Really? Where is he?
And why isn't he here right now, fathering our grandchild?
So therefore they encouraged her to be more ladylike to land a man, which only led Amy to rebel against them by dressing in her trademark pink tracksuit.
How come you always dress like you're doing your laundry?
I guess because my parents keep telling me to be more ladylike. As though.
Despite her frustrations with her parents, Amy still indulged in her family's wealth. For example, used it to fund her cuteness reduction surgery as a teenager.
I used to be too cute, so I had cuteness reduction surgery here and here.
She would then go on to become a member of Kappa Kappa Wong, a sorority named after her parents for their many generous donations to Mars University.
Look, we're not as rich as everybody says.
Uh-huh. What sorority do you belong to?
Kappa Kappa Wong.
And while there as an engineering student, Amy was determined to prove her worth, eventually obtaining an internship at Planet Express, an opportunity that was given to her by the professor, who may have also been convinced to take her on because of her very convenient blood type.
I like having her around because she has the same blood type as me.
Bender Bending Rodriguez. Built in 2996 by Mom's Friendly Robot Company in Tijuana, Mexico, Bender was actually only 4 years old when the show began. But technically, his head is an extra 1,000 years old because it was stranded in the New Mexico desert after a time-traveling mishap.
What was it like lying in that hole for 1,000 years?
I was enjoying it until you guys showed up.
But that's not the only time that Bender's time traveling has seen him stuck in the past, making his actual age even more complicated. But for now, let's keep things simple. So Bender emerged on the assembly line without a backup unit and so rendered him defective. However, Inspector Number 5 found baby Bender far too cute to destroy and decided to spare his life, therefore making Bender mortal by robot standards.
If I die,
You die, or as you put it,
Although this story was kinda contradicted in Season 3's Benless Love, where a flashback revealed that he was thrust into adulthood right on the assembly line, but I guess you could say that Bender was misremembering. Maybe. Look, I'm just trying to make things make sense here. He graduated from Bending State University with a minor in Robo-American Studies, before then landing a job bending girders for Unalive booths. Sorry, silly YouTube censorship. However, when he learned what the girders were for, he couldn't live with himself and unsuccessfully tried to use one of the booths. But his plans soon changed after meeting Fry, and he genuinely looked surprised that Fry considered him a friend.
you really want a robot for a friend?
yeah, ever since I was 6.
For all his talk about killing humans, Bender seemed very lonely before joining Planet Express. In terms of his parents, there are 2 maternal figures in Bender's life, because like all robots, he showered Mum with gifts on Mother's Day, and the other is the mechanical arm that built him.
Ah, a picture of my mommy.
It's important to mention that his robot arm mother is also a religious fundamentalist who never taught Bender about robot babies, which would cause him big problems later on in life.
She was a religious fundamentalist. Plus, she didn't have a mouth. It's an unusual combination.
Meanwhile, Bender's father died some time before the beginning of the show, having met a very tragic end from a giant can opener.
Stupid can opener. You killed my father and now you've come back for me.
Calculon. The All My Circuit star has a surprisingly sinister past, dating back to his humble origin as a car manufacturing robot in the 21st century. In 2019, Calculon was a robotic service arm involved in Project Satan, a mission to create the most evil car ever built. Project Satan then attacked Calculon, causing him to become a werecar, and later on, Calculon would pass on the curse onto a robot student in his acting class, and so inadvertently created the abominable snowmobile that roamed the Arctic. At some point after leaving his original job, Calculon received his acting talent from the robot devil, and to conceal his real age, Calculon would change his identity and upgrade his appearance every few decades, claiming to be all of history's very great acting robots.
Acting Unit 0.8, Thespomat, David Duchovny.
Cubert Farnsworth. In the episode A Clone of My Own, the professor revealed that he had created an heir to continue his legacy, originating from the DNA extracted via a growth on the professor's back in 2989. However, Cubert was left a little too long in his first test tube, flattening his nose and so making him no longer identical to the professor. Cubert also exhibits very different behaviour from the professor, even though he is a clone, because he's overly critical of everyone at Planet Express and dismisses the professor's invention as impossible.
I may be identical to you in every possible way, but that doesn't mean I'm anything like you.
Cubert initially had no intention of continuing the professor's legacy, instead dreaming of becoming a teacher's aide, a prison guard, or a science fiction cartoon writer, though he'd eventually come to appreciate his father's genius and develop a proper bond with him.
Dad, when I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Donbot. As head of the robot mafia, Donbot's past is appropriately hush-hush. He's also appropriately accompanied by loyal henchman Joey Mousepad and Francis X Clampazzo, better known as Clamps.
The clamps! Right?
What we do know is that Donbot is married to the unfaithful Fanny, who is a burlesque dancer performer at the Wong Casino in Las Vegas. Donbot is also a very doting father, hosting his eldest daughter's wedding at his swanky mansion, whilst his youngest daughter, Bella, hooked up with Bender in her father's stables.
This is all happening too slowly. Let's get married.
Quiet. I'm making out with a floozy. Oh.
Another thing that we know about Donbot is that he doesn't like snitches, and neither should you. Without a VPN, your ISP is ratting out your data to who knows who, but with NordVPN you can keep things hush-hush, as NordVPN ensures that your browsing stays private and protected. NordVPN is the all-in-one tool that shields you from malware, trackers and ads, and it stops websites from logging your internet activity and therefore maintains your privacy. It also has a dark web monitor which notifies you if someone obtains and leaks your credentials. NordVPN has also proven to be the fastest VPN out there too, which is great for streaming. And just one account can protect up to 10 devices, so you can share it with your friends and family too. It's also totally risk-free because of the 30-day money-back guarantee, which is really great if you just want to check it out. And if you go to nordvpn.com/Simpsons or click my link in the description, you get 4 bonus months totally free. Thank you so much to NordVPN for sponsoring me, and let's get back to the video. Elzar. Born on January 25th, 2965, the four-armed Neptunian chef was once a pupil of the renowned Helmut Spargel, before he turned to the dark side of cooking. You see, Helmut hosted his own cooking show called Down Home Country Kitchen, before the soda company sponsor replaced him with a young chef who could knock the show up a notch.
Get lost, old man. Bam!
Mein souffle!
And so Elzar was propelled to fame as the host of Essence of Elzar, while Helmut went temporarily insane. But after studying under Helmut, Bender finally avenged his mentor by defeating Elzar at their kitchen coliseum.
I came here with one goal, to humiliate Elzar in a large stadium. I believe I've done that.
Hermes Conrad. Born on July 15, 2959, all Hermes dreamed of was being a bureaucrat ever since he was a young boy growing up in Jamaica. In season 12, we learn a bit more about his backstory when it's revealed that his father owned a barometer store which was destroyed by a hurricane, and left without any means to support his family, his father ventured into the jungle to grow exotic crops, leaving Hermes behind at the age of 4. But it wouldn't be until decades later that Hermes finally reunited with his father and uncovered the truth.
Coffee? He's growing coffee?
But daddy issues aside, before he went into bureaucracy, he started out at the very bottom of the limbo line because he had a very successful career as a limboer. And despite repeatedly losing to rival Barbados Slim at the limbo bar, Hermes definitely won in love because he'd married Barbados's ex-wife LeBarbara, and together they had a son named Dwight. Hermes retired from limboing after the disastrous 2980 Olympics when a young fan attempted to mimic Hermes by limboing underneath a dangerously low bar.
There. Now you don't have to limbo if you don't want. It doesn't make you any less of a man.
And despite it not being his fault, Hermes felt personally responsible and so abandoned the sport. That was until he was asked to step in for the Jamaican limbo team at the 3004 Olympics, where he once again lost to Barbados Slim. By 2996, Hermes worked for Mum's friendly robot company in Tijuana designated Inspector Number 5. It was revealed that he was the one responsible for approving Bender on the assembly line, overriding his defective status and resigning from the company. He subsequently joined the central bureaucracy and was assigned to Planet Express as the company accountant, Cubert Farnsworth. The professor was born on April 9, 2841 in Hell's Laboratory, the nerdiest slum in New York. He learned to read while he was still in diapers, at 8 years old. But sadly, his parents Ned and Velma were busy hedge fund managers who had little time for Hubert and his passions for science. And when it came to his acceptance into MIT at just 14, his parents didn't think he was mature enough for college, so took him to live on a remote farm far away from big city education. Hubert never forgave his parents for this, but also wasn't able to fully appreciate that he had suffered a mental breakdown, spending 25 years in a prestigious institution.
A mental institution.
Got himself a full academic scholarship.
I was out within 25 years. It felt like a minute compared to grad school.
Hubert was also never aware that he had a younger brother called Floyd who obtained an online doctorate in rodeo studies. After 14 years of graduate school, Herbert began designing fast cars, nightclubs, and beautiful women all inside his one-bedroom apartment. He then dedicated 50 years to Mum's friendly robot company, where he began an illicit robosexual affair with Unit 47. The professor would then be responsible for designing the sport utility robot, which would ultimately become the basis for Bender and most modern robots on Earth.
What was that?
A flaming burp.
Does it always do that?
It's not always a burp.
However, horny Hubert was too distracted by his romance with Mom to care about the robot's dangerous fuel emission levels.
That's awful, Professor, especially the making out part.
Yeah, I didn't need to hear that.
The professor met Dr. Zoidberg while on a research mission for Mom before finally escaping from her erotic grip, opening Planet Express in 2961. With the company's first delivery being a disaster, with most of the crew never returning, launching the professor's long line of expendable employees.
Well, what happened to the old crew?
Oh, those poor sons of... But that's not important.
John Zoidberg. This crustacean hails from the planet of Decapod 10, and his species undergoes a very unique metamorphosis as children before then becoming humanoid lobsters. When he was at high school, he soon fell for his first crush, Edna.
You used to laugh at me because my face was covered with barnacles?
And even though she used to laugh at him, he was still optimistic about his chances as an adult, despite Edna deeming him unworthy of mating.
I'm sorry, Zoidberg. You're just an inferior male specimen. Nice seeing you again.
Happiness eluded Zoidberg throughout most of his life. He dreamt of becoming a comedian like his uncle, the silent film star Harold Zoid, but his hopes were soon crushed by his disapproving mother. This would be a running theme for him. Zoidberg disappointed people no matter what he did. This is perhaps why he dutifully obeyed his parents' wishes and attended medical school, even though he does claim to have carelessly misplaced his medical degree.
I lost it in a volcano.
It seems his true calling was art history, having obtained a doctorate in the field.
My doctorate is in art history.
A self-proclaimed expert on human anatomy, Zoidberg once worked as a surgeon for Mum Corp under Mum. He's also one of few who actually is on friendly terms with her.
It's been a long time. How have you been?
Not too bad. Last year I took a bus trip to the Grand Canyon.
Mum introduced Zoidberg to the professor in 2927, and the pair worked together on a mission to capture a Tritonian Yeti. The professor saved Zoidberg's life, but also believed that he was infected with hypermalaria, a disease which could lay dormant for many, many years. So owing a blood debt to the professor, Zoidberg promised to perform a mercy killing should the time come, ultimately leaving Mum Corp to work on the Planet Express as a physician. Zoidberg was well liked among the staff. He was also believed to be the sole survivor of the professor's first delivery crew, who went missing while delivering a cookie bouquet and were attacked by a giant space whale. Needless to say that Zoidberg mostly confined himself to his office after that encounter. Kiff. Before becoming a loyal lieutenant in the Duke military, Kiff was just a tadpole born in the swamps of Amphobius 9 in 2976. Kiff's childhood is largely unknown, but what we do know is that he spent years safely nestled in the swamp before slowly growing legs and returning to land. When we meet his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Croker, we find them in their final stages of their lives, i.e. a colony of hookworms.
You just squashed part of my father.
That was my left testicle.
Another thing that we know about his species is that they have a few defensive abilities. For example, he has no skeleton as his body is supported by a system of fluid-filled bladders.
I'm supported by a system of fluid-filled bladders that...
Yes, you a big squishy wuss.
And his species also boasts defensive features to survive the dangers of his homeworld, including a camouflage reflex and the ability to walk on walls and ceilings.
Where go beautiful man? Me want snoo.
Lrrr
Ndnd. Although the ruler of Omicron per CIA might seem scary at first, he's actually a teddy bear at heart. He won over his second wife by writing poetry and caring for injured critters.
We'd go walking in the woods and Lrrr would find injured little tinkle bunnies and nurse them back to health.
And his planet invasions may have also been spurred on by his failed attempts to make his father proud.
I just wanted to make my daddy proud.
Lrrr has spawned many children, however, a vast number of them were eaten by Earthlings when the Planet Express crew discovered what they thought were harmless fried shrimp-like food on a mysterious planet. It was revealed that this planet was actually a nursery for baby Omicronians, and Leela learned this horrifying truth when she was about to devour a cute but delicious juror. Mum. Carol Miller, better known around the universe as Mum, was born in 2880 and dedicated her life to creating a vast industrial empire. She was married to Ogden Wernstrom, who fathered her first two sons before she began a whirlwind romance with an even sexier scientist. However, their relationship soon turned sour when she planned to weaponize the professor's Cutie McWhiskers toy. Therefore, the professor immediately broke off their relationship, but the thrill of the bony beauty had him crawling back to her twice more. One of the main reasons why she's so angry at Hubert was undoubtedly because he left her pregnant with her third son, Igna, a revelation that the professor wasn't made aware of until far later on in life.
Can I give my boy a hug?
All right, fine. I've never done it. I guess somebody should.
The native Martians. During the 20th century, Mars was regarded as an uninhabitable wasteland until the university was founded in 2636, with plant life soon evolving into an exotic jungle filled with animals. Expanding the colonization of Mars, Sir Reginald Wong traded a giant diamond in exchange for the native Martians' land.
They sell whole planet for one bead. Sounds stupid to me.
That is stupid.
The Martians were completely unaware of the diamond's monetary value and grew resentful of the colonizers and a supposedly worthless bead. The natives were considered a laughingstock by the human colonizers and so relegated to underground reservations. These were only accessible via the Great Stone Phase, or the Great Arse of Mars, but that can be a real pain to get inside. Despite claiming to hold a deep love for their homeworld, Chief Sigging Wind was all too happy to abandon Mars once he realized the tribe was rich.
Landshmand, we don't want to live on this planet. It's a dump. We'll buy a new planet and act like it's sacred.
However, the natives might have had a far greater reason to leave Mars, because in 3012 the Planet Express crew discovered an ancient Martian pyramid that predicted the end of the world that very same year.
Why you think we're so eager to abandon this dump? You guys got 10, 15 minutes max. Well, so long.
Luckily, the disaster was narrowly averted, and shortly after, Amy uncovered a document from Sir Reginald revealing that the Wongs were only to hold their casino for 100 years, after which the ownership reverted back to the native Martians. Nibbler. Don't let the diaper fool you, Lord Nibbler is a noble and highly intelligent being hailing from the planet Eternium.
Oh, you're all so cute!
Nibelonians have existed since the dawn of time and have engaged in a long struggle against their sworn enemies, the Brainspawn, and it was Nibbler specifically who was assigned to push Fry into the cryogenic tube on December 31st, 1999, so he could save Earth from the Brainspawn's invasion in the 31st century. 1,000 years later, Nibbler was stationed on the dark matter preserve of Vergon 6 just before the planet collapsed, but was luckily saved by Leela. He returned to Earth under the guise of Leela's adorable pet, while also acting as his species ambassador to the planet and keeping a close watch over Fry.
Ever vigilant, lest Earth again come under brain attack. And when that day comes, God help us.
Ogden Wernstrom. An esteemed scientist, professor at Mars University and member of the Academy of Inventors, Wernstrom has been a thorn in Professor Farnsworth's wrinkly old backside for decades. 100 years before the show began, Wernstrom was Farnsworth's most promising student until he was given a dreaded A- on a pop quiz.
I swear I'll have my revenge if it takes me 100 years.
And his revenge didn't just involve repeated attempts to undermine his former mentor. He was at one time married to Mum and is the absentee father to Walton Larry.
You've been played, Farnsworth. Played like a cheap harpsichord.
But their relationship was certainly never built to last. Philip J. Fry. Fry was born on August 14, 1974 in Brooklyn, New York, and was named after a screwdriver.
Here's your baby, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
So, what should we name him?
You pick. I picked dinner last night.
His parents were very distant throughout his childhood, with his sports-obsessed mother often distracted by whatever game was playing on TV.
I'm really sick.
Huh? Oh, sorry. 109. We'll check it again at halftime.
And his father, Yancey Sr., was a Vietnam veteran who was paranoid about the commies, but he later opened up to his son on a fishing trip in 1988, where he admitted that he was tough on the boy to prepare him for the future.
But I know you'll pull through and make me proud. I love you, son.
Fry has an older brother called Yancey Jr., who he can be very competitive with, mostly because Yancey often stole Fry's ideas. He also became extremely jealous of Fry's lucky 7-leaf clover. Fry dreamt of becoming an astronaut, showing his deep interest in science at an early age, but he was often told that he would never amount to anything. He eventually dropped out of Coney Island Community College, which looked suspiciously like a fairground attraction, and worked as a delivery boy for Mr. Panucci. One of his few joys in life was spending time with Seymour Asses, who was a lovable stray dog that he found in 1997.
That a boy, Seymour. Right here waiting for me as always. Just like that huge mushroom in my shower.
And most notably, on December 31st, 1999, Fry was hardly looking forward to the new millennium because his girlfriend Michelle was cheating on him and he was sent out on a prank call to Applied Cryogenics. But his life would change forever when he quote-unquote tumbled backwards into an open tube and woke up 1,000 years later at the dawn of the 31st century.
My girlfriend. I'll never see any of them again. Yahoo!
Fry's past became more complicated when he accidentally travelled back in time to 1947, meeting his grandfather Inez in Roswell, New Mexico.
You almost got yourself run over.
I did? Then I sure am lucky you knocked me onto this pile of rusty bayonets.
This is because he inadvertently caused Inez's death and slept with his grandmother Mildred, therefore making him his own grandfather.
Who's my grandfather? Isn't it obvious? You are.
Due to Fry doing the nasty and the pasty, a genetic abnormality resulted in him lacking the delta brainwave, which basically made him immune to the brainspawn's attack in the day the Earth stood stupid. And when he learned it was Nibbler who separated him from his friends and family, Fry travelled back in time to stop himself from ever being frozen, only to realise that he served a far bigger purpose and being sent into the future was the best thing that could have ever happened to him. Richard Nixon's head. Born in 1913, Richard Nixon was once the 37th President of the United States, and his head was then preserved and put on display in the new New York Head Museum, where he had a run-in with Fry and Bender back in the Futurama pilot.
You just made my list.
Stop it down, boy. Bad president.
Nixon was later elected as President of Earth and has made numerous references to his scandalous political career over the years, even choosing to stay at the Watergate during the Earth election.
Computers may be twice as fast as they were in 1973, but your average voter is as drunk and stupid as ever.
And I can't really mention him without also mentioning the headless body of Spyro Agnew, his loyal friend and former vice president from Nixon's first presidency.
Agnew, you belong to Wernstrom now.
Roberto. In Bender's game, the psychotic bank robber revealed that he was created by a team of scientists who wanted to build an insane robot.
But it seems they failed.
Actually...
However, several years previously, a terrified Roberto experienced a flashback to his scarred childhood, where his mother would punish him by welding him to the wall.
No, don't weld me to the wall, Mommy!
Now, whether or not this actually happened, or were the memories simply implanted by the engineers who designed him, we don't really know, but it is clear that Roberto has had a very hard start in life. Robot Santa Claus. One of the most feared inhabitants of the universe, Robot Santa was built by Mum's Friendly Robot Company in 2801 to judge whether or not people were naughty or nice. However, Santa malfunctioned and his standards were set far too high, deeming everyone naughty except for lovable Zoidberg.
You've all been very naughty indeed. Except you, Dr. Zoidberg. This is for you.
So, in an attempt to reverse Santa's naughty nice censor, the professor travelled back in time to prevent him from ever malfunctioning, only to discover that he was the person responsible for causing the defect in the first place.
Lordy Lou, I'm the one who made Santa evil.
Scruffy Scruffington. He doesn't say much, but Scruffy's always on hand to clean up any mess Planet Express finds itself in.
Now we've got to buckle down and save Planet Express. I'm on break.
And being the strong, silent type, Scruffy has revealed very little about his past.
Who are you?
Scruffy, the janitor.
I've never seen you before.
I've never seen you before neither.
He was first seen working as a masseur in A Fistful of Dollars. He owns 40,000 shares in Planet Express and casually indicated that he's had a spell in jail, doing whatever was necessary to survive.
Jail's not so bad. You can make sangria in the turlet. Of course it's shank or be shanked.
Turanga Leela. For much of her life, Leela believed she was alone in the universe, the sole Cyclops on a planet filled with beings from all walks of life. And it wasn't until the year 3003 that Leela discovered that she was really a mutant born on July 29th, 2975 in the sewers of New York. This is because baby Leela displayed far fewer mutations than the rest of her kind, and wishing for a better life for their daughter on the surface, her parents Morris and Munda left her in a basket outside of the Cookieville Minimum Security Orphanarium. Leela's childhood was filled with hardship, often bullied by her fellow orphans, but despite their taunts, Leela worked tirelessly to better herself. She became highly skilled at Kung Fu, even though the sexist Master Fnog belittled her as being fit for nothing more than a housewife or school mom.
That's it. I'll take you on right now.
I have the will of the warrior. Therefore, the battle is already over. The winner? Me!
Later on, Leela worked as a career assignment officer at Applied Cryogenics, meeting Fry when he was unfrozen in 2999. As Officer 1 BDI, Leela was tasked with tracking down a runaway Fry and installing his career chip before then abandoning the job that she hated to join Planet Express as the new starship captain. Zapp Brannigan. The Zapper's backstory is as hazy as his nickname, the Velour Fog. His past victories are often talked about across the universe. Zapp Brannigan was first introduced in Love's Labour's Lost in Space and admired by Leela as the most decorated heroic captain in the Democratic Order of Planets. Sometime before the beginning of the series, he was awarded with a medal for single-handedly saving the Octillion system from a horde of killbots.
Knowing their weakness, I sent wave after wave of my own men at them until they reached their limit and shut down.
He strongly upholds Brannigan's law and regularly boasts about his accomplishments at any opportunity, such as defeating the retiree people of the Assisted Living Nebula and the pacifists of the Gandhi Nebula.
Call me cocky, but if there's an alien out there I can't kill, I haven't met him and killed him yet.
He is also the proud author of a book on expert military tactics called Zapp Brannigan's Big Book of War, and it might sound like too much talent and sex appeal for one man, but somehow Zapp pulls it off. And phew, bloody hell, we've made it to the end of the video. Please let me know if I missed anyone and what other cartoons you'd like me to do this kind of setup with. I love doing it, so let me know in the comments. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.